Get ready.
They say they need to ban the podcast equipment and take y'all mics away. And oftentimes when I listen, shit, I agree.
For real talk.
Hey man, just because we know people don't mean that they know things. A lot of us was in the same classes with some of these folks. That don't mean they were passing these classes.
All the time.
It ain't the world leaving you behind, man. It's your line of thinking. You think the science stopped evolving because you stopped learning, and it don't work that way. I couldn't imagine voting for somebody who thinks identifying with me is identifying with a felon. That's crazy as hell. I'm Mr. Spann, and I'm approving these messages. This is the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. I am your host, Mr. Spann. This is episode number 55 of the show, man. 55. We were just on the mic last night, right? But of course, y'all ain't got last night's episode. Shit, y'all ain't got that one yet. Yeah, man, I was having some issues with my mixer over here, and like all of the audio that I did last night, I have to re-record that stuff. So I'm going to get that to you guys tonight. But yeah, man, that's the reason why. Well, you're going to get that episode. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, man, the entire episode, I ran my mouth all that time and it was like not recording at all. So I got to do something different in order for me to get it up out to you guys. But hopefully we can retrieve that audio, and you guys will be getting at least 2 shows this week, man, at least.
God damn!
I know it's a lot. You know, you don't really expect that many from your boy, you know what I'm saying? But I told y'all. Well, y'all ain't heard that yet. Y'all ain't heard that one yet. But I was saying, you know, with the way things are going on in my job and shit, I might have a little bit more time to do this here. Right? So yeah, man, we got that going on. But before we get into everything that we're going to talk about tonight, of course, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit us up at our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get right here live on the show and responded to here live on the show as well, man. And if you're watching us here live on YouTube, Facebook, well, right now, just YouTube and Facebook. I'm not doing anything on Instagram right now, but if you're watching us live on both of those platforms, you can chop it up with your man Spann live, man, as we do the show. So that's area code 313-288-0485. You can also email us here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails, and of course, those emails will get right here and reply to here live as well. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also on YouTube, man, subscribe to our channel on YouTube. It's the Spann Report on YouTube. Go ahead and follow, subscribe to the show, subscribe to the channel, like the videos when you see the videos, comment on the videos when you see the videos. That's one way, to get your voice and make your voice heard. But also it helps us with the algorithm over there, man. We've been doing this for a long time, but every little bit helps, and it doesn't cost you a dime to do that, man. So we really appreciate everybody who does that. Go over to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Spann Report on there on YouTube, like the videos when you see it, and comment on the videos, and sometimes we'll use those comments here live on the show as well. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who does that. Again, it doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety, man. Also, we do have a store. Our TeePublic store has some merch, man. So if you want to get some T-shirts or a coffee mug or a hoodie, because it's getting a little chilly outside, man. I walked outside this morning. It was 40 goddamn degrees, man. I'm like, but it warmed up a little nice, you know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, sometime later in the week, it's going to be damn near 80 in Detroit, man. So we getting a little bit of an Indian summer here, man. So we appreciate that, that little warmth with the fall colors and shit. It be looking nice, it be feeling warm, but you got the fall colors and stuff. It's a vibe, man. It's really a vibe. So, yeah, man, but you want to be dressed appropriately, and we got the gear for you at our TeePublic store, man. So, yeah, the link will be in the show notes, man. Real talk. But thank you for all of you guys who will support us in that way, and we really do appreciate everybody, man. Real talk. So, yeah, man, I got a couple random thoughts, man. Just a couple things I was thinking about over the course of the last couple days, man. Of course, like I said, if you guys weren't watching last night and you haven't seen last night's episode, I was kind of talking about male grooming and shit last night. And it was a big thing at my job. We were talking about male grooming and stuff. So when I finally get that episode up for the podcast listeners who aren't watching live, man, you guys, I really want to know what you guys think on that topic. However, even when it came to the male grooming thing, sometimes, man, for some fellas, man, they think it's, certain grooming habits are gay or whatever. And it's like, yo, man, no, it's not about being gay, man. It's about being clean. I need y'all to come up out of it. I need the patriarchy to release y'all from the throes of like looking at grooming as if that is something a woman does, man. Like real talk. Like I really need the fellas to like really release themselves from the shackles of the patriarchy that would allow for you to believe that having clean balls is somehow gay, right? I need y'all to stop that, right? But the other thing I need y'all to stop, man, can we go back to just calling hot dogs? Do they always have to be glizzies from here on out? Does it have to be that, man? Like, I don't mind just like, yo, man, could you pass me that sausage over there, And also, could you niggas stop saying pause after every goddamn thing, man? Like, it's not like, yo, we grown men, bro. Like, everybody I know, especially, I mean, this is probably something that, it's probably just a subject of, the people that I work with, you know what I'm saying? But, yo, man, every last one of us is at least 30, bro. Like, I expect to hear like one of my teenage, like younger cousins or like one of my nephews or somebody else like that talking like, but man, you are 50. Nigga, you're 50. Why are you saying pause after everything you say, bro? We know you're not gay, man. Why do you feel the need to do that? Like, could we stop that, please? It's redundant. I'm a little tired of it. I am. I'm a little tired of it. Also, another thing I was thinking about, man, for those of you who have ever driven in the city of Detroit, just a public service announcement, real talk, just a public service announcement. I'm not sure if you're aware that here in Detroit, red lights are not necessarily the law, but that's kind of a suggestion, just
niggas.
Yeah, man, it's just kind of a suggestion, man. Like niggas will they'll pull up to a red light, look both ways, and then they will keep going. They were like, man, fuck that. I'm not sitting here, and they will keep fucking going. As a matter of fact, they will get mad at you for sitting at the light. Like, nigga, what is wrong with you, nigga? You know where you at? We on MLK, nigga. Don't shit good happen on MLK Boulevard, man. Real talk. It's also kind of funny too how like in Detroit, Martin Luther King doesn't go like, it's not like it runs east and west, but it doesn't go all the way through east and west, man. Once you get to a certain point on Martin Luther King, that shit turns into Mac once you get to the east side, man. So yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, a couple random thoughts, man. I'm just like, yo, something I felt like I would share with the fam. But yo, man, so let's get into the show, man. Let's get into the show. Like I said, I was just on the mic last night. Some of these were things I probably would have like covered last night, but like it's a lot of shit happening, man. It's a lot of shit happening in the world. And I kind of want to speak to some of the stuff as I can, man. I can't get to everything, but I'm gonna get to the stuff as I can, especially the things that I've had some time to think about, right? So we just gonna get into it, man. Can we talk about that goddamn statue, man? Can we talk about that statue that the Miami Heat released to honor Dwayne Wade, man? Can we talk about it? Can we be honest about what we saw from the Miami Heat and how they were honoring probably the greatest player or the second greatest player possibly, considering that, LeBron James did play there. LeBron James to me is the second greatest player to ever play the game. But, they say that Dwayne Wade is the greatest Heat player to ever play and stuff like that. He is the first Heat player to have his own statue, right? So they released his statue and everything. And boy, oh boy. Let me just say that when I saw that statue, the first thing that came to my mind was,
makes me sick, motherfucker, how far we done fell.
It was bad, man. It was bad. Right? So, I got some video here. I'm gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann of them talking about the unveiling of this of the statue. I'll pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. They were talking about this on the Today Show, and this is where we get this audio and video from. So let's see what the morning show at the Today Show had to say about the unveiling of the Dwayne Wade statue. Check this out.
Fans head to tonight's home game against the Detroit Pistons. They're going to see something special. On Sunday, the Heat unveiling a statue of the legend Dwayne Wade.
So Craig met with...
Also, I feel old because I remember when Dwayne Wade was a goddamn rookie and shit. Like, I was still in college at this time. Like, and Dwayne Wade is a rookie in the NBA and stuff. Like, it's wild, like, how fast life comes at you, nigga. Because I remember his fucking rookie. Now they got statues of this guy standing outside the arena. That's crazy.
The Hall of Famer on center court ahead of the ceremony for a conversation about his legacy.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You know, Dwayne Wade, already a household name, but in Miami...
I forgot it's a morning show. They got to do with the banter. You know what I'm saying? I don't really want the banter, man. Let's just get to the shit, man. Let's get to the shit, baby.
He's now a landmark as well. The statue of Wade is the latest monument in a lifetime filled with milestones. And we had the chance to talk.
Also, I feel like I got to stop this motherfucker a few times because, you know, NBC be on the bullshit when it comes to the copyrights and whatnot on the YouTubes, right? So I've been stopping it because, like, yo, you know, fair use, motherfucker, fair use. But you know what I mean.
To the basketball great and his dad, Dwayne Wade Sr., about what it means to have your likeness etched in bronze. Dwayne Wade's NBA career was packed with... Yeah, we all know this, man. Let's get to the statue reveal, though. Can we do that? Can we get to the statue? Or is this the right video? I don't think this is the right video. This isn't the right fucking video. Okay. Damn it, Spann. Damn it. Let me take that down. So let me see if I can find the video of the Dwayne Wade statue reveal. Let me do this here. Let me pull up the YouTubes. Let's see. D Wade. Let's do it here. D Wade statue. All right. Okay, so this is the local affiliate in Miami. So we're going to pull this one up. Hold on here. Let me do this. We're going to pull this one up. Let me take this down. And yeah, we're going to add this one to the screen. So let me do this. Bam. All right. Let's see what they're talking about here in Miami.
Welcome back. It certainly is a special day for the Miami Heat, honoring a legend.
Dwayne Wade receiving the highest honor the Heat can possibly give. And our Local 10 sports director, Will Manso, joins us live from the Kaseya Center. Will, we're so excited to see this unveiling.
Yeah, the unveiling just finishing up right now. You hear the ovation. Let's take you up to the stage to see Dwayne Wade up on the stage right now, giving his love to the organization, the city of Miami. And in the background, you see that statue that was unveiled a little after 6 o'clock. It's the classic "This is my house" pose, the classic pose of Wade after making a game.
Now, y'all see that? Y'all see that? Does that look anything? Does that look anything like fucking Dwayne Wade, man? That does not look like Dwayne Wade in any way, shape, form, or fashion. I am sorry. That shit does not look like my man's. As a matter of fact, it's looking very fucking Nipsey Russell-ish around here, man. My man, he looking like the Tin Man off The Wiz right now. And for those of you who may not necessarily believe me, let me stop sharing this and let me pull up Nipsey Russell. Let me pull up Nipsey Russell so you guys can understand what this shit looks like to me. Hold on a second. I had this shit saved. Where is that damn tab? Where is my tab? Jesus Christ, man. You were supposed to have this ready. Okay, let me do this. Let me do this right here real quick. D Wade Nipsey Russell. Okay, images. Nope, that ain't it either. Jesus Christ. Tin Man. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this picture up so you guys can see what I'm seeing when it comes to this statue, right? Let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man. Hold on just a second here while we do this here. And boom. Does that not look like this damn statue? I'm gonna switch the picture. Okay. Boom. Boom. What y'all think, fam? What y'all think? I'm thinking they look a little Nipsey Russell to me. It looks a little Nipsey Russell to me, man. Like, that does not look like Dwayne Wade. I'm sorry, right? Now, one of the things that some folks were saying was like, yo, man, Spann, like, you got to understand, man, like, you know, a lot of times, man, it's hard to like get someone's likeness, you know, like in bronze, right? It's hard for them to do that. And a lot of these folks don't look like themselves in the statues, right? So I did the thing. I'm like, okay, so let's see if there's anything to this. So I'm going to pull up a couple other pictures of some other statues to see what these statues look like. And you tell me, you guys be the judge of whether or not these statues look like their likeness, right? So this next picture I'm going to show you guys is a statue, excuse me, the statue of Kobe Bryant. Does this image look like Kobe Bryant to you guys as I pull this up? And if you're in the chat, let me know. Does this image look like Kobe Bryant to you? Anybody? Anybody? Y'all ain't gonna say nothing. That's all right. I mean, of some of the statues, man, I think this particular statue does kind of look like Kobe, man. I think, you know, they had to lay on this hairline a little bit thick, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, I think towards the end, man, Kobe kind of gave up the hairline, much like Mike did, you know, years later, you know what I'm saying? We got that one going on. Now, another hairline, or I'm sorry, hairline, another statue that we can look at. Let's see, how about Jerry West? Does Jerry West look like himself in this statue? I'm gonna pull this statue up and let's see what you guys think of this one. How about what Jerry West's likeness looks like in this particular image? Is there a way I can like, let me see if I can, let's see if I can like make this bigger. Can I make that bigger? Open in a new tab. Okay, so let me see if I can do this tab here and you guys can see the tab. Yeah, let me do this here. All right. That's about as big as I can get it, guys. But does Jerry West look like Jerry West to you? He looks like Jerry West to me. They did a pretty good job on that one, right? They did a pretty good job on that one. Now, there's another one that I think we can take a look at. We've got, I think, Michael Jordan. What about the Michael Jordan statue outside of the United Center? Let's take a look at that one, because I believe that one is also a pretty good rendering of Michael Jordan's face to some degree. Let's see if they have that one. Is that one this one? Nope, this is of Magic Johnson. Now, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I ain't gonna lie. This picture of Magic Johnson look kind of goofy. I ain't gonna front. Hold up, man. Let me see if I can I make this bigger? No, I don't want to go to Pinterest, man. I don't want to sign in, none of that shit. Okay. So let's do this. I can't make this one bigger, guys, but I will share this with y'all so y'all can take a look at it. I don't know, man. This don't necessarily look like, I mean, it kind of look like Magic, but he also kind of look like, he kind of look a little goofy too in his bronze rendering of him, right? I don't know, man. Like, you know, the whole idea of the statues, you know, looking like the person that they are rendering. I don't know if there's like, you know, we've never really talked a whole hell of a lot about that, you know, or whatever. But I think when it comes to this D Wade statue, hey man, that shit is egregious. That don't look nothing like my man's. Like, real talk, I feel like this, right? I feel like this. What's the dude name? Pat Riley, who is the I think he's like the executive vice president or something like that. He's got a real highfalutin title with the Miami Heat. He took issue with the fact that Dwayne Wade, you know, decided to take his talents to the south side of Chicago when he did, right? He did, you know, Dwayne Wade felt as though like, man, I had sacrificed enough to get the big three here, and like, it's time for y'all to pay me, and you don't want to pay me. I'm gonna go somewhere else. I really wish he'd have done that shit earlier and they could have brought the big three to Chicago, but that ain't what he did. You know what I'm saying? He could have came home earlier. He didn't, so he gave us the washed version of him when he came to the shop. But whatever, you know, he's still a hometown boy. He ain't like Isaiah Thomas and shit. You know what I'm saying? You know, it ain't like that, right? However, no, man, I feel like Pat Riley like threw a monkey wrench in that shit. I also got questions about whether or not D Wade actually saw renderings of that before they unveiled it. Like, was that the first time he seen it when they put it out in front of everybody else? Was that the first time he seen it? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, man, like, shit, now I gotta. And I gotta try to make nice with this shit. I ain't appreciating this shit at all, but I gotta make nice with this. Because I heard the speech was nice. You know, he said he wanted to like feel the speech, you know, he wanted to feel this and everything. And you know, not everyone gets a statue of them, you know, like be honored in that way. So like I said, Dwayne Wade is an NBA great, man. Shout out to him. Shout out to his career. Shout out to the man that he's shown himself to be. Shout out to the father he's shown himself to be, especially in the face of all of the criticism he gets for being the father of a transgender child. Yo, man, so kudos to him, but he gonna get these jokes when it comes to what that statue looks like, man. Real talk. So yeah, got that out the way. We talked about the statue. Yeah. Whew. Didn't fuck up. Now, you know, I know your man Spann gets political. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of what I do. It's like, I swear shit is at right now. It's a whole lot of politics going on, man. We got a major election going on, man. Like, people are voting right now, and like messages are being sent all over the place. And one message that ain't getting sent in Australia is the messaging from Candace Owens, because they said, hey man, we good. Keep your ass away from our motherfucking country.
What in blue blazes is going on out here? Did this nigga just say blue blazes?
So the country of Australia has revoked Candace Owens' visa. She is not allowed to step foot in the entire fucking country.
Not never.
Yeah, that's how they feeling about Candace Owens over in Australia. So we get the story here. This comes out of, where did I get this story from? The Daily Beast. And we read, it says, Ben Affleck may be ready to get back on the dating scene. Wait, what the fuck is this? This has nothing to do. Talking about Ben Affleck, man. No. We talking about, come on, man. What the fuck? All right. So it says MAGA-fluencer, firebrand, and conspiracy theorist Candace Owens has been told to stay out of Australia, with officials canceling her visa for a planned speaking tour down under. Owens was booked to headline November events in Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, and Adelaide, delivering raw and unfiltered commentary on politics, culture, and everyday life. With ticket prices ranging from Australian dollars, $95, $1,500, and anywhere between $63 and $990, according to Melbourne's The Age newspaper. A former contributor to the right-wing website, The Daily Wire, the Trump-loving Owens was fired early this year after making anti-Semitic remarks. She nevertheless counts millions among her social media followers, from downplaying the impact of the Holocaust with comments about Mengele through to claims that Muslims started slavery. Candace Owens has the capacity to incite discord in almost every direction, said Immigration Minister Tony Burke. Australia's national interest is best served when Candace Owens is somewhere else. And to that, I would just say, God damn! To have the nation, to have a national immigration official come out officially against you and say, nah, B, we good. You know how bad you gotta fucking be, bruh? Do you know how bad you gotta be? You know how, like they seen you acting like, oh, no. Turn your ass around. Better if you, turn your ass around, nigga. Like Sweet Pea on fucking on Baby Boy. Turn your ass around, nigga. That's what they told Candace Owens. Turn your ass around, nigga. For real. Straight up. Now, one of the things that I think is interesting is that they were talking about how much money that Candace Owens would be receiving from some of these engagements, right? So she's charging $95 to $1,500 Australian. Well, okay, so it's $95 Australian to $1,500 Australian, but that translates to $63 and $990 in American dollars, right? And she would be receiving this money, but that goes to show you. That goes to show you just how much money comes from being a right-wing grifter. I honestly do not believe that Candace Owens believes all the shit that comes out of Candace Owens' mouth. I don't believe that she believes that shit. And, there's evidence to support that, whether you go back into, some of her earlier some of her earlier like online presence, whether it was her docking people who were a part of the MAGA movement earlier on, whether it was, and especially when it came to the Gamergate thing, whether it would be like her accusing her school district of racial discrimination against her, and her going to the NAACP and having the NAACP advocate on her behalf, and she receiving a settlement from her school district because she asserted that her school district did not properly protect her against said racist attacks against her. So like, I don't necessarily believe that Candace Owens looks at what she says as the truth. I think that Candace Owens looks at what she says as a money grab. And there's again, we've talked about this on the Spann Report, and we've talked about this at length here on the Mrs. Spann Official Podcast. There's a lot of money to be made on the right wing. If you will be willing to be a black voice, willing to regurgitate white supremacist talking points. There's always money in that. There's always money in making white people feel comfortable in their racism. Always money in that. And so Candace Owens has figured out that like, yo, man, like shit, I can make more money over here just saying this shit. I don't necessarily have to believe it. I could even it's easy. It's easy money. Like, check it out, man. Like, there were people. And, I've been doing this, this podcast thing, the YouTube thing. I've been doing it for a long time. And I guess my integrity in some ways has kind of kept me from doing certain shit that these, some of these other people are willing to do. Right. But I've watched people, and I've watched their channels, and I've watched them go from, having one, kind of, way of presenting who they are, and then flipping the script, and suddenly their channels take off. They're making, they become, much more financially viable when it comes to their content creation, because they've taken on a different, type of content production, right? I could name names. I could name names. I've watched how they flipped the script and how they present their shit. And, it's an easy grift, man. It's an easy grift. There's a shit ton of white folks who are looking for black folks to regurgitate some of their talking points to make them feel like, hey, I'm not as bad as they say I am, right? Because that's really what it's about. Even when it comes to Donald Trump, like a lot of the people who are comfortable with the way that Donald Trump speaks, who are comfortable with some of the rhetoric that Donald Trump spews, even some of the policies that Donald Trump advocates for, they're comfortable with that, but they're not comfortable with being named a racist. Not comfortable with that. So it's very interesting that like here in America, we are now dealing with a lot of folks who like, we all get our news. We all get our news from different sources now. And now we can silo ourselves off into our our political echo chambers, and we don't have to take in any other information from anywhere else. We don't have to do it. We really don't. And so that leads me to our next story, right? So over the course of the weekend, there were two major newspapers who, for whatever reason, declined to endorse any presidential candidate for this presidential cycle. MAGA! Yeah, and here's the rub, though. Both of those newspapers in question had initially planned on endorsing Vice President Harris. God damn! Yeah. So we get this story here. Let me pull this Daily Beast story down. But we get this story. This comes out of, where are we? Okay, so we get the story here. This comes out of the Associated Press. And the Associated Press says the Washington Post becomes the second major U.S. newspaper this week to not endorse a presidential candidate. It says less than 2 weeks before Election Day, the Washington Post said Friday that it would not endorse a candidate for president in this year's tightly contested race and would avoid doing so in the future. A decision immediately condemned by a former executive editor by one of the current publisher, a decision immediately condemned by a former executive editor, but one that the current publisher insisted was consistent with the values the Post has always stood for. In an article posted on the front of its website, the Post, reporting on its own inner workings, also quoted unidentified sources within the publication as saying that an endorsement of Kamala Harris over Donald Trump had been written but not published. Those sources told the Post reporters that the company's owner, billionaire Jeff Bezos, made the decision.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No wonder you get D's and everything.
Yeah, it says the Post publisher Will Lewis wrote in a column that the decision was actually a return to a tradition the paper had years ago of not endorsing candidates. He said it reflected the paper's faith in our readers' ability to make up their own minds. We recognize that this will be read in a range of ways, including a tacit endorsement of one candidate, or as a condemnation of another, or as an abdication of responsibility. That is inevitable, Lewis wrote. We don't see it that way. We see it as consistent with the values of the Post, the Post has always stood for, and that we hope for in a leader, character, and courage in service to the American ethic, veneration for the rule of law, and respect for human freedom in all its aspects. Okay, so here's the rub. Okay? Here's the rub and here's the bullshit. They could say, and they would say, that this is a return to their values from years ago. Despite the fact that the Washington Post has been endorsing candidates for more than 36 years, right? 36 years. One would wonder why in this particular year they would decide to no longer endorse presidential candidates. Also, well, we know that the endorsement that was supposed to come out of the Washington Post was going to be one of Kamala Harris. Now we know that Donald Trump has been very critical of the media, kind of disingenuously acting as though the media hasn't been fair to him when many people would say that, like, yo, they have broken their backs to be more than fair to Donald Trump. In many ways, they've kind of sanitized him in ways that they probably have never done for any other presidential candidate before, right? Donald Trump says a lot of crazy shit in some kind of way. Remember, we were talking about this a couple weeks ago. Donald Trump is one of the few presidential candidates, one of the few people real talk, and real presidential candidates who, whenever he goes out and he says some shit, there is a bunch of people who have to go out and clean up the shit that he said, only for Donald Trump to come back and say, nah, I meant that shit the first time, right? There are also media outlets who tend to water down the actual things that Donald Trump had to say. You know how long it took for media outlets to actually call Donald Trump on what the fuck Donald Trump was doing when he would actually tell a lie in front of it? You know how long it took for them? They were hand-wringing on whether or not they would say it was a lie or not, right? So the idea that the Washington Post would not endorse a candidate in this particular election kind of speaks to not necessarily the Washington Post's integrity, but the integrity of the person who owns the Washington Post, and that would be one Jeff Bezos. Now, Jeff Bezos, for those of you who may not necessarily know, Jeff Bezos owns Amazon, or he's the CEO of Amazon. I don't even think Jeff Bezos runs Amazon anymore, but he's massively rich because of Amazon. Right. And so Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, and Jeff Bezos also has, you got Kindle and Audible and Amazon, and he's got his own little space thingy going on where, now I think he's like an astronaut or some shit because he's got his own private space, touristy thing and shit like that. Jeff Bezos right now, I think, is hedging his bets. I think Jeff Bezos is hedging his bets, thinking that, hey, if Donald Trump were to come back into power, I don't want to be on the bad side of Donald Trump. I have a business to run, and Donald Trump has shown himself to be a vindictive, revengeful type of person. So if I can get out ahead of this, I'm going to get out ahead of this. The problem is you fuck up the credibility of a well-known and well-respected media organization that you just so happen to own, right? Why he owns the Washington Post, one has to wonder why he felt like that was something to do, right? There's a lot of like billionaires looking to own media outlets. And you have to wonder why these billionaires are seeking to own these media outlets. We even talk about I'm not even so much Donald Trump, but I mean, Donald Trump even owns a media outlet with True Social. And that's mostly like for sycophants and fans. But, you think about Elon Musk, who has like really fucked off Twitter, and because he was upset with the direction or how Twitter was being ran, he said, fuck it, I'll buy it. And then they said, okay, cool. And then he said, oh shit, I talked too soon. I don't want to buy it for that much. And like, nah, nigga, no take backsies. Right. And he had to buy Twitter for $44 fucking billion. Right. It wasn't even worth that much, but he had to buy it for that. And he's been running that shit into the ground ever since. Now, hey, shout out to the people who are still over there though. Cause like I jumped ship, man. I'm like, and the last thing the last straw for me, I had an account over there. I wasn't really fucking with it for a little while. I had an account. The last straw for me was when he was openly musing about why no one was trying to kill Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. That was the last straw for me. I'm like, well, fuck this guy. Right. So it wasn't just Jeff Bezos in the Washington Post. There was another paper out west. It says, okay, where is it? Okay. So as we continue to read this article, it says, Lewis cited the Post history in writing about the decision. According to him, the Post only started regularly endorsing candidates for president when it backed Jimmy Carter in 1976. Hey, man, that's older than me. I'm 44. So let's not act as though like that's not a long time. Let's not act as though that's not a lifetime for people. Don't act as though you've been doing this and like, we're going back to our old tradition. No, it's tradition now for you to endorse candidates. Stop playing in people's faces. Said the Post said the decision had roiled many of the opinion staff, which operates independently from the Post newsroom staff, which is known commonly in the industry as a church-state separation between those who report the news and those who write opinion. The Post move comes the same week that the Los Angeles Times announced a similar decision, which triggered the resignations of its editorial page editor and two other members of the editorial board. In that instance, the Times owner, Patrick Soon-Seong, insisted that he had not censored the editorial board, which also had planned to endorse Kamala Harris. Make no mistake, these very rich motherfuckers are trying to curry favor with Donald Trump. Make no mistake about this. They are trying to curry favor with Donald Trump. Their newspaper editorial boards are supposed to be independent, right? They are supposed to be independent. The owner of the paper typically doesn't step on the editorial board. But these dudes have economic interest and they got economic skin in the game. And they're trying to curry favor what could possibly be a Donald Trump presidency on the other end of this election. And so they will step on the credibility of their newspapers in order to protect their bottom line. That's just what it is. That's just what it is. It says, as an owner, I'm on the editorial board and I share with our editors that maybe this year we have a column, a page, 2 pages if we want, of all the pros and the cons, and I let the readers decide. Soon-Seong said in an interview Thursday with Spectrum News, he said he feared endorsing the candidate would add to the country's division. Listen, man, the country couldn't be more divided than it already is. It couldn't be. Your paper endorsing a candidate wouldn't divide the country any more than it already is. Stopping an endorsement of Kamala Harris lends people to believe that you're only currying favor with what could possibly be a Donald Trump presidency. And you step on the credibility of the independence of your paper and the editorial board when you do so. And so one of the things that I think is important is that we think about how media operates here in America and how we've gotten to this point, how we got here. Because Years ago, the media, or especially the news was something that we could all come around, like as Americans, we could kind of all come around and we could at least know that we were all operating with the same set of facts. There was a time that happened here in the United States of America, believe it or not. Well, we were operating on the same set of facts. You had folks read the same newspapers. You knew, I mean, even if the newspapers had a certain slant, like here in Detroit, like the Free Press is sort of like, left leaning, and the Detroit News is kind of right leaning. If you go to Chicago, the Chicago sometimes is kind of left leaning sometimes, but then you got the Tribune who's kind of right leaning. If you go to New York, you got the New York Times who, was considered like a reputable newspaper. You have the New York Post is kind of tabloidish, but then you also had the Wall Street Journal who's kind of right wing leaning, right? But then when it came to your news on on a national level, and you were watching them on TV, you had probably 2 to 3 anchors, man. You had the NBC anchor, you had the ABC anchor, and you had the CBS anchor, and they went nationwide at like 5 and 6, right? Anyway, nationwide 5 and 6, everybody was watching them. You watch those 3 dudes or whatever, whether it was like, I remember when I was coming up, it was Tom Brokaw, Dan Rather, and probably Peter Jennings or somebody like that, right? And maybe later at night you probably watch what's my man name? The dude that did 2020. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. But you had the guys, man. Everybody watched these guys. And everybody was operating on the same sense of like the same information. So there wasn't really a political slant either way. You brought your political influence to how you thought about what you saw, but you saw the same thing everybody else saw, right? And then, for whatever reason, news media became a thing where they wanted to make money. Corporate interests came into the news media business and they needed to make money. The news division in a lot of media outlets was usually a loss leader. They weren't there to make money. They were there to inform you. Their MO wasn't to impress the stockholders. Their MO wasn't to bring in revenue. It was just to inform you. That's it. That was what their job was, to inform you of what was going on in the world, what was going on in your neighborhood, what was going on in the city. That's what they were there to do. And unfortunately, the corporatization of our media has lended to the idea that not only are they supposed to inform you of a certain line, or not even so much, they're to inform you to think of this news in a certain way, but also we should be making money while doing this. Okay, we should be making money while doing this, and so Jeff Bezos wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post today, and I'm gonna read a bit from Jeff Bezos's op-ed in the Washington Post from today. And let's see what the fuck Jeff Bezos is talking about. And then we're going to talk about how this shit ties in historically to this very moment. Okay? So we read the story. Like I said, this comes out of the Washington Post. Opinion: the hard truth. Americans don't trust the news media. A note from their owner. So check this out. This is what Jeff Bezos wrote. In the annual public surveys about trust and reputation, journalists and the media have regularly fallen near the very bottom, often just above the Congress. But in this year's Gallup poll, we have managed to fall below Congress. Our profession is now the least trusted of all. Something we are doing is not clearly working. Let me give an analogy. Voting machines must meet 2 requirements. They must count the vote accurately. The people must believe they count the vote accurately. The second requirement is distinct from and just as important as the first. Likewise with newspapers, we must be accurate. We must be believed to be accurate. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but we are failing on that second requirement. Most people believe the media is biased. Anyone who doesn't see this is paying scant attention to reality, and those who fight reality lose. Reality is an undefeated champion. It would be easy to blame others for our long and continued fall in credibility and therefore decline in impact. But a victim mentality will not help. Complaining is not a strategy. We must work harder to control what we can control and increase our credibility. Presidential endorsements do nothing to tip the scales of an election. No undecided voters in Pennsylvania are going to say, I'm going with newspaper A's endorsement. None. What presidential endorsements actually do is create a perception of bias, a perception of non-independence. Ending them is a principled decision, and it's the right one. Eugene Meyer, the publisher of the Washington Post from 1933 to 1946, thought the same, and he was right. By itself, declining to endorse presidential candidates is not enough to move us very far up the trust scale, but it's a meaningful step in the right direction. I wish we had made the change earlier than we did. In a moment further from the election and the emotions around it, this was inadequate planning and not some intentional strategy. Now, one of the things that Jeff Bezos talks about in this op-ed is the fact that the media is now seen or have less credibility than the Congress of the United States of America, right? And that people do not trust the media of the United States of America. One of the things that part of that has been Donald Trump's continued assault on the media. Their continued assault on the media. Donald Trump, from the very time he came down that fucking escalator at Trump Tower, has been assaulting the media because the media wasn't giving, us the news or the perspective that Donald Trump wanted us to have of him. Right? And so he's been like, Donald Trump has been priming his people for this sort of attitude for a very long time. We're 9 years into this now. So there are people who are Donald Trump supporters who wouldn't fuck with the Washington Post anyway, because the Washington Post actually would call Donald Trump out on the bullshit he would say. And so because they were actually calling him out on the bullshit he would say, Donald Trump would attack the Washington Post. And now anyone who supports Donald Trump knows not to fuck with the Washington Post, because Donald Trump doesn't fuck with the Washington Post. Right? It happens on the left also, right? Take, for instance, for years, when Barack Obama was president of the United States, there was a long time when Barack Obama would not engage with Fox News whatsoever at all. And Barack Obama, that's not a legitimate news organization. That is a propaganda arm of the Republican Party. And many people felt that way for a long time. And they weren't wrong. They were not wrong. When Fox News came out, this is why I know I'm old. Nigga, I'm old enough to remember when Fox News was new. When MSNBC was new. These weren't fucking channels that I grew up with. I was a teenager when this shit came out. But Fox came out under the guise of fair and balanced because they had the idea that the media was already left-leaning. So Fox was going to counterbalance the mainstream media. So when Fox News came out, their tagline was fair and balanced. And if they did present a liberal point of view, it wasn't a prominent liberal point of view. They leaned heavily conservative. Right? So you've got Donald Trump, who's been assaulting the media for the better part of 9 years. And then he had the bully pulpit of the presidency of the United States assailing the media because they're not parroting and assailing the media because they were not doing the things that he thought that they should be doing to parrot his propaganda. So he looked at the media as adversarially as one Richard Nixon did. Right? It's like history repeating itself all over again. But here's the thing. And I think that history, because if we don't know history, we're doomed to repeat it. One of the things that I think a lot of folks miss is the repeal of the fairness doctrine. Now, for those of you who may not necessarily be familiar with the Fairness Doctrine, essentially what the Fairness Doctrine did was, when it came to broadcast television, when it came to broadcasting news and everything else, news organizations had a responsibility to present both sides of an issue and give them equal weight, right? So if it was a liberal, if it was like NPR, they had to give equal and ample time to a conservative, way of, viewpoint. If it was Rush Limbaugh would have been forced to have a liberal commentator who had ample enough time to not only like match his, but also be given prominent enough space to present their message as well. The Fairness Doctrine was done away with back in 1988. So I'm gonna read this here. This comes out of the Ronald Reagan Library. Okay. It says the Fairness Doctrine enforced by the Federal Communications Council was rooted in the media world of 1949. Lawmakers became concerned that the monopoly audience control of the three main networks, NBC, ABC, and CBS, could misuse their broadcast licenses and set a biased public agenda. The Fairness Doctrine mandated that broadcast networks devote time to contrasting views on issues of public importance. Congress backed the policy in 1954, and by the 1970s, the FCC called the doctrine the single most important requirement of operation in the public interest. The sine qua non for grant of a renewal of license. The Supreme Court upheld the doctrine in 1969's Red Line Broadcasting Company versus the FCC. Journalist Fred Cook sued a Pennsylvania Christian Crusade radio program after a radio host attacked him on air. In a unanimous decision, the Supreme Court upheld Cook's right to an on-air response under the Fairness Doctrine, arguing that nothing under the Fairness Doctrine, arguing that nothing in the First Amendment gives a broadcast license holder the exclusive right to the airways they operate on. The doctrine stayed in effect and was enforced until the Reagan administration in 1985 under FCC Chairman Mark S. Fowler, a communications attorney who served on Ronald Reagan's presidential campaign staff in 1976 and 1980. The FCC released a report stating that the doctrine hurt the public interest and violated free speech rights guaranteed by the First Amendment. Fowler began rolling the application of the doctrine back during Reagan's second term, despite complaints from some of the administration that it was all that kept broadcast journalists from thoroughly lambasting Reagan's politics on air. In 1987, the FCC panel under new chairman Dennis Patrick repealed the Fairness Doctrine altogether with a 4-0 vote. The FCC was opposed by members of Congress who said the FCC had tried to flout the will of Congress and the decision was wrong-headed, misguided, and illogical. The decision drew political fire and tangling where cooperation with Congress was at issue. In June 1987, Congress attempted to preempt the FCC decision and codify the Fairness Doctrine into law. The bill passed, but the legislation was vetoed by President Ronald Reagan. So when the Fairness Doctrine was repealed in 1987, 1988, 1987, when the Fairness Doctrine was repealed, that is what led to that's what opened up the floodgates to operations like MSNBC, Fox News, News Nation, Newsmax, OAN, and all of these other, politically leaning major broadcast networks, right? They were no longer bound by the Fairness Doctrine to offer equal airtime to those who had opposing views. And so with the Fairness Doctrine being repealed, now you got folks, especially not even so much the cable news. Some of this shit started on AM radio. Rush Limbaugh got his start in AM radio, right? So now he's not beholden to the Fairness Doctrine to where he has to present to you an opposing and equal view on his show. The network doesn't have to do so. And so that leads into us having information silos. where if you lean right, you're going to go where everything that you want to believe, everything you believe, there's going to be a news channel that confirms everything you believe about whatever the fuck is going on in the world. And if you lean left, there's going to be a news channel and some other outlet that's going to confirm everything you believe in the world. And the nation suffers because of it. So when Jeff Bezos puts his thumb on the scale with his newspaper, the newspaper that he now owns, decides that they're going to, the editorial board is going to endorse a candidate and say that it's because the vast majority of the American people don't, trust journalists anymore. Part of it has been this has been a part of a long game, much the same way that the abortion thing has been a part of a long game for Republicans. They've been playing a long game for a long time. We're seeing the results of that game right now. We're seeing the results of it right now. The repeal of the Fairness Doctrine in 1987 leads to us having a polarized media landscape in 2024, which leads to the populace not believing whatever media outlet doesn't align with their political leanings. And now we have a nation divided because we're not dealing with the same set of facts. On both sides, we're not dealing with the same set of facts. And even when we do see the same event at the same time, we interpret those same events differently. Just what it is. I think it's disingenuous of Jeff Bezos to not understand how we got here. Because it's not hard to trace. It's not hard to trace. Also, we understand that people like a Jeff Bezos, people like a Elon Musk, people like a Donald Trump would like to own these media organizations, these media outlets, because they also, let's keep it a buck, they want to control how the masses think. This is just what it is. They want to control how the masses think. And if they can control how the masses think, then guess what? The masses will be more malleable to the things that they want to do for themselves. It's part of the reason why when Donald Trump gets on Fox News and talks about doing away with the Department of Education, if they decide, if there's a school that is teaching Black history, if there's a school that's talking about slavery, we should take their funding away. Why would you take their funding away for teaching the real history of what happened here? They don't want an informed populace. They want a compliant populace. That's all it is. They want a compliant populace. Unfortunately, too many of us are too far gone to see what this is for what it is. Right? So, yeah, we got that going on, man. But, yeah, something I've been thinking about for a little bit. I saw this over the weekend. I'm like, man, I hope enough people see through it. I really do. Real talk. Now, we got some other shit going on before I get on about it. We got a couple other things going on. We got there. So up in the Northwest, the Pacific Northwest, people are actually out there burning up fucking polling drop boxes and shit.
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, they are burning the drop boxes up. So let me pull this story up. I believe there's a video to this. Let me see. Do I have a video to this? I do not. I got the article in this here. It comes out of The Guardian. So let me read this here. It comes out of The Guardian. It says that hundreds of early ballots cast for the U.S. presidential election have been burned in 2 suspected attacks in Washington and Oregon, exacerbating tensions ahead of the next Tuesday's knife edge contest. Police said Monday that the fires in the 2 states were believed to be connected and that a vehicle involved had been identified, according to the Associated Press. Firefighters went to the scene after smoke was reported coming from a ballot drop box in the city of Vancouver in Washington state at 6:30 a.m. on Monday, according to local media. KATU, a local television channel, reported capturing footage of responders releasing a pile of burning ballots to the grounds. The ballots continued to smolder after the flames had been doused. Hundreds of ballots were believed to have been inside when smoke was reported billowing from the box, which had been emptied at 8 a.m. on Sunday. KATU reported that only a few of the ballots deposited there after that had been saved. The elections auditor for Clark County, the local authority administering the boxes, said Sunday that said voters who had cast their ballots into it after 11 a.m. should seek new voting documents at a link on the county's election webpage. So shout out to them for giving those voters some level of recourse, right? Because I believe that like a lot of folks were like, so what do they do next? And I'm glad that they have some level of recourse. There's absolutely zero place in our democracy for political violence or interference among our fellow citizens, election workers, and voting infrastructure. Our right to vote needs to be protected under all circumstances. We can't yield to intimidation, and we must continue to stand up against unpatriotic acts such as this one. She requested law enforcement officers to be in place overnight at all ballot drop boxes at the county until Election Day, saying that Southwest Washington cannot risk a single vote being lost to arson and political violence. Now, I'm just going to say this here, man. If you don't think the motherfuckers who did this are not associated with Donald Trump, I got a bridge to fucking sell you, man. Cause
Nigga, please.
come on, man. Who would do such a thing? Who would do such a thing? It is a Donald Trump voter. It is a Donald Trump folk who think that voting by mail is voter fraud. It is the people who vote with Donald Trump who think that you voting early is voter fraud. Right? Despite the fact that the military has been voting by mail for decades, right? Despite the fact that many Republicans for years also voted by mail for decades, especially older folk, man. There's a lot of senior Republicans who used to vote by mail, and then Donald Trump told them, nah, it's fraud. And they just fucking dropped in line like they fucking lost their brains and shit and started like, well, I guess I'll stand in this line for 13 motherfucking hours. Right? But the fact that they would we know, let's keep it 1,000. Let's just keep it 1,000. We know that Donald Trump does not want access to the ballot for the vast majority of folks. We know that Republicans does not want access to the ballot for the vast majority of folks because Donald Trump and the people like Donald Trump know that their policies and that their ideology is not popular with the vast majority of people. Donald Trump has not won the popular vote, not once in any presidential election. He came in second in both of them bitches. The only time he won was because of the Electoral College. But the vast majority of the folk did not vote for him. Hillary Clinton beat him by 3 million, and Biden beat him by fucking 7 million.
It's a new record.
Like straight up. Biden set a new record with 81 fucking million votes, man. And what did they try to do? They tried to call that into question. No one, they said that Joe Biden was in his basement and all these other things. And they had absolute, they could not fathom that, hey, y'all were in the minority the first time. Y'all are in the minority this time. Probably and more than likely are going to be the minority this time as well in 2024. So that's where the whole idea of the voter fraud even comes up. Let's keep it a buck. Let's break it all the way down when it comes to this voter fraud bullshit that Donald Trump supporters tend to believe. Let's break it all the way down. Back in 2020, when we were dealing with the COVID vaccine, when we were dealing with the COVID pandemic, because we were dealing with the pandemic and health officials were telling us, hey, man, we don't need large groups of people gathered together, spreading the disease to each other, possibly killing sensitive folks people who may be sensitive or have compromised immune systems. we need to make it available for folk to be able to vote, but also make it safe for them to do so. So they opened up mail-in balloting to the vast majority of folks. A lot of times, man, like before COVID, you had to have a reason to put yourself on the absentee ballot list. You had to be like, hey, I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to be out of the country or something like that. I'm in the military. I'm going to be out of the country, you know, on a deployment or something like that. You had to have a reason. Now it's like, no, you don't have to have a reason. Hey, go ahead, put yourself on the list, send yourself a ballot, and then you can mail your ballot in. And Donald Trump said, that's fraudulent. Because Donald Trump knew that the more people, Republicans knew, that the more people had access to the ballot, the less likely they would have a chance to winning. This is why they try to close polling places. This is why they try to make voter ID laws a thing. This is why they try to make it harder for people to have access to the ballot. This is why they're going like you got Republican operatives in many states in the South who are trying to get people booted off of the voting rolls and challenging their right to vote, even if they've never met this person, don't even know who the fuck this person is, but they're submitting these names to the clerks and trying to get these people booted off the ballot because they do not want people to have access. Right? You don't want them to have access. So what they did was they said, well, it's fraudulent. And here's what they're going to do. They said the Democrats are planning to steal it. But what was happening was this. You had many state legislatures all across the country controlled by Republicans who refused to allow states to count those ballots as they came in. Right? So you voted by mail, you submitted your you did your voting, you voted, you submitted your ballot, you submitted it to your clerk, and that ballot sat there until election day. It was not processed when they finally received it in the office. That ballot sat there until election day. And because Donald Trump went and told all of his voters, he said, hey, listen, y'all need to go to the ballot box. Y'all need to go on election day. Don't vote by mail. It's fraudulent. Don't vote by mail. It's fraudulent. Vote on election day. Right? And your ballot is sitting there at the clerk's office. Hadn't been counted yet. Can't be counted because the legislature wouldn't allow for them to count them yet. So Donald Trump goes, he's going by the election day count. He might be up. Right? Because Republicans at that time were not heeding the public health warnings by the fucking authorities, or better, the experts. I wouldn't even say the authorities. The experts. They weren't following that shit. Suddenly, everybody's a goddamn epidemiologist. Everybody's a motherfucking virologist. Everybody got their science degree from YouTube University, and they know more than the doctors. They know more. They know more than the nurses and the nurse practitioners. They know more than the CNAs. They know more than the residents. So they go and they vote in person, right? You see even people now telling you, if you're gonna vote, you need to go vote in person. Why, motherfucker? It counts the same way. Fuck am I going on that day for? I can go do something else now. Shit, I done already take care of my vote. I ain't got to be worried about being in that goddamn line, which is also a way for them to disenfranchise you because now they want you waiting in that line and you be so tired, like, man, I can't keep waiting on this. I got to go to work. And now because you got to go to work, you can't wait in line. Now you're not voting. Now your voice wasn't heard. Right? But they told their people that, hey, the only votes that count are the votes that you do on election day. So then Donald Trump is up on election day because they still haven't counted those votes that came in over the mail over the course of the last month. So over the course of the night, now they get a chance to count all those votes that they've been sitting on for the last fucking month. They've been sitting there. They've been sitting there. They finally get a chance to count them. And Donald Trump uses that to convince millions of people across this fucking country that somehow the election was stolen from him because more people voted for Joe Biden than they voted for his orange ass. And those folks believe it. They damn sure believe it. They think that this election was stolen. Y'all saw what the fuck happened on January 6th. Those folks really believe that shit. He had been priming their asses up for months. And there it was. There it was, man. So when it comes to ballots being burned in the boxes as they are waiting to be picked up by the election authorities, who would be the prime suspects to do such a thing? Right? I mean, think about it. Like, come on, this isn't motherfucking Keystone Cops, nigga. But like, we know who the fuck did this. It's Trump people, man. Goddamn.
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
If it wasn't Trump people, I would just be like, man,
God damn!
It's almost like feeling sorry for Candace Owens for her not being able to get into Australia, because you think I feel sorry for that? I'm
supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't.
I wouldn't feel sorry for her in much the same way that I wouldn't feel sorry for the stupid motherfuckers who did this shit. I just hope that the people whose ballots may have been destroyed in those ballot boxes do have an opportunity to go back and still have their choice, their voices heard. So I know one thing here in Michigan, I've already voted. One way to know if your ballot has been received is to go to your Secretary of State's website and check to see if you're voting by mail or if you're voting absentee. Just check to see if your ballot has been received. If your ballot hasn't been received, then you may want to go up to your Secretary of State or your local clerk's office and ask some questions on whether or not on what what recourse you have in order to have your vote counted going forward. And I hope that those of you who are in Northwest, in the Pacific Northwest, who may have had your ballots destroyed, man, I do hope that you do get a chance to have your voice heard, because no one should have their voices muted because of someone who is afraid that the people does not want them in power. Real talk. Now, I got one more story here, man, before we get on up out of here. And that has to do with the fact that Donald Trump had a fucking rally in Madison Square Garden. Now, I know that Donald Trump has a weird bunch with him oftentimes, man. Like, some of these folks, they're a little bit off their rocker. Some of them, like, we used to watch them in the 80s and we haven't seen them in shit else since the 80s. So, like, maybe, they're trying to, they're celebrities with those folks. Like, hey, Charles in charge. Like, yeah, Scott Baio hasn't been in shit since then, right? So we got that going on. And most of us are looking at, like, our kids are looking at some of the people who are around Donald Trump, and they're just like,
who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
Right. But then also you got people like me who I'm looking at these motherfuckers and I see what they say, like some of the shit that they saying, and I'm just like,
bunch of fucking weirdos.
I mean, real talk, bunch of fucking weirdos, right? So Donald Trump has he's supposedly doing his closing argument, right? He's supposed to this is supposed to be the big one. He went to Madison Square Garden. It's supposed to be his big one. And he's going to talk about the, what's that? He's going to talk about his closing argument, why he should be president again, right? Why he should be president. But the messaging coming out of that goddamn rally didn't necessarily leave a whole lot for people to really take in and hold on to and love, right? As a matter of fact, a lot of the shit coming out of that meeting, a lot of the shit coming out of that rally sounded a lot like,
Oh man, hey.
Sound like a lot of hate. So we're gonna pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Let's see what the fuck they was talking about at the Donald Trump rally. Because not only that, Kamala Harris told us to watch. She's like, I invite you guys to watch the Donald Trump rally, see what the fuck this nigga talking about. And you know what? That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna look at what this motherfuckers is talking about at the Donald Trump rally. So let me pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. And we already got Terry Bollea, this racist sack of shit. Goddamn, I used to like this dude when I was a kid. Fuck, man, that sucks.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really.
So this guy here is supposed to be a comedian. I'm not sure how funny this guy is, but he's telling jokes, right? He's telling jokes at the Donald Trump rally. And we know that, like, I mean, again, I don't even know who the fuck this guy is. We know Donald Trump has a hard time attracting really talented people, right? But this is the comedian that opened up the show for the Trump people. So let's listen to some of the shit that he had to say.
is. And, you know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right.
MAGA! He said that shit. He said that shit in New York. That's almost like Donald Trump talking shit about Detroit in Detroit. Like,
Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
Damn.
Enough! Boy, I've been sick to my fucking stomach watching you imbeciles type things. Stop typing. You niggas are stupid.
I kind of feel as though if Donald Trump could, this entire rally, Donald Trump would be on some shit like this. Just
delete all that shit. Delete all that shit. Not playing with you, Peggy.
I'm not playing with you, Peggy. Straight up. If Donald Trump could, he probably would, but he can't, so he ain't. So there we go.
Okay. We're getting there. Now, again, normally I don't follow the national anthem, everybody. This isn't exactly a perfect comedy setup. There's some people here. All right. Very good. It's absolutely wild to see. And in Texas, stuff is really, really crazy. We're right there by a wide open border. Where are my proud Latinos at tonight? You guys see what I mean? It's wide open. There's so many of them. It's absolutely incredible.
Imagine going to a Donald Trump rally and support a Donald Trump only to be insulted to your motherfucking face. Like, but
I'm supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't.
Because I don't.
Believe it or not, people, I welcome migrants to the United States of America with open arms. And by open arms, I mean like this.
He's waving them balls. He's waving them balls.
10 days from now to look in the eye to America with a straight.
And this is Tucker Carlson's smarmy, goofy, fuck ass, punk ass, bitch ass, punk ass, slinky ass shit. I hate this dude. I do.
Straight face. It's going to be pretty hard to look at us and say, you know what? Kamala Harris, she got 85 million votes because she's just so impressive. As the first Samoan, Malaysian, low IQ, former California prosecutor ever to be elected president, it was just a groundswell of popular support. And anyone who thinks otherwise is just a freak or a criminal.
Hey, think about this for a second, though, right? He can't fathom Kamala Harris getting 85 million votes, and he's trying to mock her racial background and everything else. But they don't understand that even when it came to Joe Biden he wasn't many people's first fucking choice. However, Donald Trump is just that unpopular amongst the majority of the American electorate. The only reason that this is even close is because of the Electoral College. If this was a race where the Republican had to compete on ideas and the Republican had to compete on ideas and the popular vote was what determined who became president or not, Republicans would have moderated a hell of a long time ago. But because they don't have to do that, they lean on the fact that the Electoral College kind of handicaps the popular choice of the people, and they have a lane in which to obtain power while not representing the vast majority of the American people. So fuck you, dude. Fuck you, man.
And today, this is Donald Trump's house, brother. You know something, Trump maniacs? I don't see no stinking Nazis in here.
But they in it, though.
I don't see no stinking domestic terrorists in here.
But they in there, though.
The only thing I see in here are a bunch of hard-working men and women that are real Americans, brother.
When she was asked what she would do differently compared to Joe Biden, she said, nothing comes to mind. She's running on how she's going to be different, but she couldn't name a single thing that she would do differently than Joe Biden. Now, I will say that could be the Kamala Harris official campaign slogan. Kamala Harris, nothing comes to mind.
And this guy here wants you to forget that he once called Donald Trump America's Hitler. All right? This is the guy who is running as his vice president. He wants them to forget, very much so, that he called Donald Trump America's Hitler. This guy has no motherfucking, he has no scruples at all. So, like, even if that is your attack, bro, you have no credibility because we've known you. We know you are doing what is politically advantageous. We've seen you. We know who you are. You're a spineless, obsequious piece of shit. Okay? Let's keep it a buck.
Kamala's gross incompetence disqualifies her from being president of the United States of America. She is grossly incompetent. All you have.
And your first 4 years as president also renders you incompetent as well. We did have you as president. Kamala Harris was not in the position of president of the United States. She's the vice president of the United States. We've got 4 years of you fucking shit up. 4 years of that. You've got a record, guy. Before they could say that, like, oh, no, you know, how bad could it fucking be? And then we saw how bad it could fucking be. And then we saw. Right?
You have to do is look at her interviews, look at what she did the other night on fake.
He doesn't even take interviews from anyone who is in a like a friendly outlet, right? He wouldn't go on CBS to do a 60 Minutes interview. He backed out of a second debate. He canceled on a CNBC interview. There was another interview I think he backed out on. Like, yo, bro, like he only goes where he thinks is going to be some friendly fire where he can talk his shit and not be challenged on anything. He's never talking about like anything in depth any fucking way, but still.
News CNN, just take a look. She couldn't answer a question.
Hey, there's one black guy. Hold on a second. Let me see if you guys can see this. Okay, yeah. There's one black guy in an entire fucking crowd behind him. One nigga. One black guy in a sea of white. Come on, man. Come on, man.
She's unfit for office. Everyone knows it. No one respects her. No one trusts her. No one takes her seriously.
It's as if he's describing himself.
Everyone knows she is a very low IQ individual. And we will make America great again. Thank you, New York. God bless you.
Yeah. So he did that shit in New York. It was a shit show. It was a shit show in New York. It was funny too because I saw some pictures on Threads yesterday. Someone was talking about how there were 75,000 people waiting outside to get into the Madison Square Garden, and they used a photo. They used a photo from a Barack Obama rally that happened in Dublin, Ireland, because Barack Obama was worldwide popular. Donald Trump, not so much. Donald Trump couldn't fill the fucking Huntington place here in Detroit. And yet they wanted us to believe that there were 75,000 people waiting to get into a Trump rally in Madison Square Garden in New York, where, kind of like, I've never been in New York, like, just like roaming the city and shit. But I tend to think that like New Yorkers like, yo, man, we know this nigga to be a piece of shit for a long time, man. Like, nah, B, you know what I'm saying? Shit, my father was working on the motherfucking Trump Tower, man. He didn't get all his bread, B. You know what I'm saying? Word is born, son. Like, we ain't get paid, son. I feel like there's enough people in New York City who know Donald Trump to be the griftest, like, con artist sack of shit that he is. To where, like, yeah, they not waiting on Donald Trump to get into a goddamn MAGA rally, man. This is people that they got from, like, fucking... probably Queens or people who coming from some of the outer boroughs, some of the outer counties, and they came in, for this shit. But I feel as though there's a lot of people within New York proper who ain't fucking with him because they've always known him to be a charlatan, right? They've always known him to be a charlatan. So, You got that going on, man. Now, before we get out of here, I know I said that was probably going to be the last one. Excuse me. But I got one more. I got one last story, man. See, I didn't expect to go this long, but goddamn. I got one more story, and that is Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa of the San Francisco 49ers. He's the defensive end of the San Francisco 49ers, and he decided that he was going to like kind of bum rush a post-game interview with his teammates and show a fucking MAGA hat at at this interview. Like, I don't know. Yeah, so let me see if I can pull this article up. Which one is it? Where is it? I got a bunch of stories here. Okay, so here we go. This comes out of CNN, so take it for what it's worth. It says the San Francisco 49ers star Nick Bosa crashed his teammates' post-game interview on Sunday to show support for former President Donald Trump in the 2024 presidential election with a hat emblazoned with Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again." Following the 49ers' 30-24 victory over the Dallas Cowboys, 27-year-old Bosa interrupted the post-game interview with Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and Isaac Guerrero by jogging between Purdy and NBC's Melissa Stark before pointing to the message emblazoned on the front of his hat and then running away. "All right, Nick Bosa with the message there," Stark said as Bosa jogged off the camera. Speaking to reporters afterwards and wearing a different hat, Bosa declined to elaborate on the moment. I think we have video of that. So let me see if I can pull that up. Here we go. I do have video of that. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on just a second while I do that. Let's see what this piece of shit has to say.
Not the hat you're currently wearing in the post-game. Why did you take that opportunity to make what appeared to be a political statement?
I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I think it's an important time.
I'm not going to talk too much about it, but I think it's an important time. What the fuck does that even mean? But also,
You need to shut the fuck up when grown folks is talking.
if you ain't gonna say shit, then shut the fuck up. Right? So here's the thing, and this is just we're gonna close the show out on this though, right? Many people are already making the comparison between Nick Bosa and Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick also played for the San Francisco 49ers. Colin Kaepernick also made a political statement by not standing for the national anthem in solidarity with people who had been gunned down by police, by questionable means, right? And we all saw what the NFL and how the political apparatus at the time kind of like browbeat him out of the league because of his views on police brutality. Donald Trump being one of the main cheerleaders to have Colin Kaepernick out of the league, right? And so here we are some years later, and Nick Bosa feels like after a win where the focus wasn't even on him. The focus was on three of his other teammates, where he decided that he wanted to come out and make a statement about being a part of the MAGA movement. Now, we've known Nick Bosa to be a part of the MAGA movement since he was, since he was playing with the Ohio State Fuckeyes back in the day. Before he got drafted, he was, people knew that he was part of the Fuckeyes, and he was also part of the MAGA Fuckeye movement, right? So that's not surprising to people. I think what is what's pissing a lot of folks off is the idea that he can come out and make a political statement like that and only be presented with one question at a press conference and not be pressed on it, right? Colin Kaepernick was like he went out with his chest and said, "Hey, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing." And Nick Bosa goes out and makes a statement, and then well, shit, I don't really want to talk about that right now. It's just an important moment in the country. And it's disingenuous for a lot of folk because we remember what the rhetoric was around the time when Colin Kaepernick was dealing with the kneeling and everything. He went to a wounded soldier, I believe it was, to try to make his message more palatable by kneeling, because a soldier suggested to him that kneeling would probably be better than him sitting on his ass on the bench while the national anthem was being played. And for whatever reason, people still took offense. And Donald Trump fanned those fucking flames. And now we've got a San Francisco 49er coming out when the spotlight was not even on him and making it about him to show that he was with Donald Trump. And when asked about it, he didn't have shit to say. And the media let it go, especially the media in that room in that particular time, just kind of let it go, let it be what it was. And the hypocrisy has always been evident for those of us who always paid attention. It was never about whether or not people wanted to be, they wanted their sports to be devoid of politics, because sports have always been political. It was always, hey, shut the fuck up until you're saying what I agree with. Right? And now the same people who wanted Colin Kaepernick to shut the fuck up can't wait to champion Nick Bosa for, expressing his allegiance to the MAGA thing. Right? It's the hypocrisy. It's the thickness of the hypocrisy for most folk. And so it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting the next few days, man, how this kind of manifests itself when it comes to Nick Bosa and everything else. But also, because we're coming up on the last few days of this fucking marathon-ass presidential election, and part of the reason why it has been a marathon presidential election is because Donald Trump declared his candidacy so early because he knew that he was criminally liable for a bunch of shit. And he thought that if he jumped into the presidential race early, that he could blunt any criminal case against him and say that it was all politically motivated. The reason why Donald Trump is running for president right now is to stay out of jail. That's it. That's all. Donald Trump does not give a flying fuck about nobody or anyone else but himself. Real talk. So I would really hope that I would leave you guys with that message, and it resonates, and I hope it makes sense to a lot of you who are listening to the sound of my voice right now. But I've been running my mouth for a long time, so it's time for me to get on up out of here. But of course, before I do, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard, man. Go ahead and hit us up at our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those voicemail messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. Leave those voicemails, man. We missing y'all, man. Ain't nobody been calling the hotline. What the fuck's wrong with y'all? Leave them damn hotline numbers, man. Leave them voicemails, man. We want to talk. Hit me up on our email, man. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. That's feedback@thespanreport.com. Go ahead and leave us those emails. And of course, those emails will get right here and reply to here live as well. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So, man, go ahead, follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, leave me a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. I was going to say Stitchers. Rest in peace, Stitcher. But yeah, man, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live in the show. We really appreciate those of you who do that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel, man. It's the Spann Report on YouTube, man. Go there, subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Leave us comments on YouTube. Thumbs up the videos when you see them on YouTube, man. It doesn't cost you a dime over there either, and we really appreciate everyone who does that, man. It means the world to us over here at the Spann Report Podcast Network, man. Real talk. I am about to get on up out of here. I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace.